Coral reefs thrive where sunlight, clear water, and living structure meet. Every coral branch creates shelter for smaller lives. Reef color supports communication, camouflage, and survival. Cleaning stations allow different species to cooperate peacefully. Daylight transforms the reef hour by hour. A healthy reef is a living community, not a single organism. Coastal nurseries connect the land, the tide, and the open sea. Seagrass meadows feed turtles, dugongs, fish, and countless invertebrates.
tides protect young animals during their most vulnerable stage.
Each tide carries food, oxygen, and new life into the shallows. Estuaries mix river nutrients with the salt water of the ocean. Healthy coasts depend on mangroves, seagrass, reefs, and open water remaining connected.
The open ocean is a moving world shaped by currents and migration.
Whales cross entire seas to reach seasonal feeding and breeding grounds.
Dolphins use cooperation, sound, and memory to travel through open water.
Ocean fronts concentrate plankton and attract animals from great distances.
Even floating seaweed can become a temporary nursery in the blue.
Pelagic life survives through endurance, timing, and constant movement.
The Coral Triangle shelters an extraordinary concentration of marine life.
Many island species occur nowhere else on Earth. With
Camouflage allows tiny animals to disappear within coral, sponge, and sand. And
Reef partnerships exchange shelter, cleaning, transport, and food. Coral spawning briefly connects distant reefs through open water.
This diversity depends on healthy habitats, from mangroves to deep reef slopes.
Cephalopods read their surroundings through touch, color, and motion. Octopuses explore the seafloor with flexible arms and sensitive suckers. Squid communicate through rapidly controlled skin patterns.
Cuttlefish combine camouflage, depth perception, and precise fin movement.
Nautiluses preserve an ancient body design adapted to steep tropical reefs. These intelligent mollusks inhabit waters from bright lagoons to the abyss.
Small crustaceans keep marine communities active from dawn until night.
Crabs carry armor adapted to sand, rock, coral, kelp, and deep mud.
Shrimp clean fish, build burrows, filter plankton, and share shelters.
Lobsters navigate reefs using touch, smell, and long antennae. Camouflage may be grown, borrowed, or carried across the seafloor.
Here we see the arrow crab, traversing a colorful garden of orange tube sponges. Its delicate movements belie its resilience.
From tide pools to hydrothermal vents, armored life occupies almost every habitat.
Temperate seas change with season, surge, and the growth of kelp.
Kelp forests create three-dimensional shelter from seafloor to surface. Cold water reefs can be as colorful as tropical coral gardens.
Seals, fish, octopuses, and crustaceans move through the same underwater forest.
Coastal surge shapes every movement among rocks and kelp.
Seasonal light controls the rhythm of these rich, temperate communities.
Polar oceans remain rich with life beneath cold water and drifting ice. Sea ice provides shelter, feeding grounds, and breathing spaces.
polar seafloors support sponges, corals, crabs, and slow-growing invertebrates. The
Arctic and Antarctic species are precisely adapted to seasonal extremes.
Even in winter darkness, the polar ocean remains alive. Of it. In the deep ocean, patience and efficiency replace speed and sunlight. bioluminescence is used for signaling, camouflage, and finding food. Marine snow carries organic energy from the surface into the abyss.
The tripod fish uses its elongated fins to stand high above the soft seabed, patiently waiting for prey to drift by.
Hydrothermal vents support communities powered without sunlight. The largest habitat on Earth remains quiet, dark, and far from empty. Across every ocean, life is linked by water, climate, and time. Currents connect tropical reefs, temperate forests, and polar seas. Migration carries animals across boundaries drawn only on human maps. The canyon currents guide us now toward the cooler, more temperate waters of the deeper ocean. Every habitat contributes energy and life to the wider ocean. Protecting marine diversity means protecting the connections between habitats. The ocean is a single living system, expressed through countless forms. Its quiet movement carries the power of an entire living world. One final boundary separates us from the hidden paradise below. Below the surface, the silence becomes a doorway. A single glance from this giant makes the open ocean feel intimate.
The dolphins move. The dolphins move with curiosity, but never disturb the giant beside them.
From the smallest school to the greatest whale, every layer follows the moving sea. The giant descends toward a depth that sunlight can barely reach. It disappears into the blue, leaving one question behind. What waits ahead? New shapes emerge from below, gliding like shadows with wings.
Their movement turns the open ocean into a silent performance.
The smallest drifting life can summon the ocean's most graceful giants. Another giant follows a trail invisible from the world above. Its enormous body is sustained by life, almost too small to see. Even this immense traveler depends on the gentle abundance of the sea. The ocean hides entire feasts inside water that appears empty. Where food gathers, travelers from distant waters briefly share the same path. Their ascent promises a moment the surface will not keep secret.
For one breathless instant, the underwater world rises into the sky.
Perfect coordination turns great speed into effortless motion.
Below the fast travelers, thousands of smaller lives move as one.
A school becomes a moving illusion, built from countless individual decisions.
The familiar pod returns, guiding us toward a brighter world. Every meter forward brings the hidden reef closer. Even the strangest shape in the open ocean has a purpose.
Rest and cooperation are essential, even in a world of constant movement.
A traveler built for distance enters the path ahead. Guided by temperature and instinct, it can cross an entire ocean. A floating island offers shelter where no solid ground exists. In open water, even drifting seaweed can become a safe beginning. For a few seconds, the sea releases its travelers into the air. A new generation enters the story beneath these warm waters. The calf's first ocean is protected by the body beside it. Every gentle movement becomes part of the calf's education. Protection can be seen in the smallest change of position. Familiar companions return as the deep ocean begins to rise. The color of the sea changes, announcing a world built in sunlight. At the edge of the reef, permanent residents patrol the blue. Their presence brings tension, yet the reef remains calm. New silhouettes rise from the border between reef and open sea. Their wings carry them toward the shallow gardens ahead.
A slower traveler now carries us into the reef.
The reef opens slowly, rewarding every second of the descent.
Beyond the giants, an underwater city begins to rise. The current transforms the reef into a moving river of color. Power and beauty share the same narrow passage. The reef keeps its most impressive figures just beyond each turn. A giant visitor arrives for one of the reef's most delicate services. The smallest fish perform work essential to the largest visitors. A single coral head can serve an entire community. The true scale of the reef appears only when we enter it.
Every closer view reveals another color, hidden from the surface.
Different mouths unlock different resources within the same reef.
Shapes, colors, and movements divide the reef without creating conflict. Inside the moving tentacles, a smaller story is already unfolding.
Even a motionless animal can transform sunlight into life.
The reef saves some of its brightest colors for creatures only centimeters long. Trust creates one of the reef's most surprising partnerships. What looks dangerous becomes peaceful when both species benefit.
A master of disguise enters the journey without announcing itself.
Color, texture, and movement allow intelligence to become almost invisible.
Another shapeshifter takes its place above the reef floor.
Its skin becomes a moving language written in color.
The reef's signals now expand from one animal to an entire group. Silence becomes communication when the body itself carries the message. The seafloor now reveals animals that live almost entirely beneath it. The current delivers food directly to animals anchored inside the sand. The smallest secret in the reef may also be the hardest to find. The closer we look, the more completely the ocean hides its wonders. Power is waiting beneath a stone no larger than a hand. Precision, strength, and engineering meet inside this tiny animal.
The reef's smallest travelers continue the journey for us.
Thousands of unnoticed workers keep this underwater city alive. The tiny details now assemble into a world of overwhelming color. What looked peaceful from above becomes endlessly complex within. The journey has moved from the greatest animals to the smallest living details. A hidden passage now leads toward the reef's most vibrant heart. Every turn promises a discovery more beautiful than the last.
Beyond this passage, an entire underwater city is beginning to awaken.
What you have seen is only the entrance. The true coral paradise lies ahead.
The narrow entrance has opened into a city larger than it first appeared.
Every tower is crowded with life, yet every movement remains perfectly ordered.
The reef seems to breathe as each school rises for food and returns to safety.
A specialized mouth allows these fish to reach food hidden beyond the reach of others.
The next turn reveals a pattern so precise it appears carefully painted by the sea.
Young reef fish may wear patterns completely different from the adults they will become. The reef's largest grazers now begin work that reshapes the entire landscape.
Their powerful bites gradually turn old coral into the white sand of tropical shores.
A busy service station waits beside the route of every large reef traveler.
The grouper temporarily abandons caution because cooperation offers a greater reward. Some reef hunters rely on patience and borrowed camouflage rather than speed. Inside these moving tentacles, danger for one animal becomes protection for another. Within this small shelter, the next generation is guarded one breath at a time.
For this father, protection means carrying an entire brood within his mouth.
The reef hides some of its most elaborate colors close to the seafloor. A brief movement above the coral becomes a private signal between two hidden fish. One partner watches for danger, while the other builds their shared home.
Their survival depends on constant communication without a single sound.
A creature smaller than a finger can vanish inside the pattern of one coral branch.
The reef rewards patient eyes with animals designed to resemble their surroundings.
Some small reef animals hide, while others advertise themselves with unforgettable color. A quiet reef crawler suddenly becomes one of the ocean's most graceful swimmers. The sunlight above is captured by living mantles spread across the reef. Even the coral itself provides shelter in exchange for constant maintenance. The current becomes a moving table for animals built to filter it.
The next partnership appears dangerous until trust becomes visible.
The moray accepts a service that removes what it cannot reach alone. Beauty and defense are displayed together in every extended fin.
Movement can expose an animal, so this fish survives by moving almost not at all.
A fish that rarely swims has learned to walk across the reef instead.
Another master of disguise enters, but this one explores with remarkable intelligence.
Every arm gathers information from the reef beneath it. Color becomes a language, a disguise, and a warning within the same living skin.
Signals travel above an animal almost invisible against the seafloor.
One effortless movement reveals how completely the ray had disappeared.
A familiar traveler returns to connect the reef with the meadows beyond. The reef and the seagrass meadow survive because animals move constantly between them.
The great grazers return, reminding us that every part of this reef is connected. One of the reef's most imposing residents moves with unexpected calm.
Even the reef's largest fish must pause for the smallest specialists. Shadows with black-tipped fins patrol the brightest edge of the reef.
Different sharks occupy different layers of the same reef boundary. Familiar shapes return, making the reef feel like a world with recognizable paths. A larger visitor now returns to the reef's busiest meeting place. The reef links the smallest cleaner to the greatest traveler beyond its walls. The current now begins drawing the reef's energy toward the open ocean. Powerful fish follow the same current that carries thousands of smaller bodies. The reef's colors now give way to a moving wall of silver. Stillness above the school creates a quiet tension without disturbing the reef. While the great schools move onward, these animals spend their lives anchored to one patch of sand. A tiny burrow becomes the center of an entire life. One coral head may contain more territories than the eye first notices. The reef is filled with faces that appear only when the viewer waits. Some reef fish prefer to watch the moving world from a fixed lookout.
An unusual body shape produces movement unlike any other fish nearby. And defense remains hidden until danger makes it necessary.
Bold patterns can identify a fish before its shape becomes clear. Constant grazing prevents fast-growing algae from overwhelming the coral.
Different species now gather along the same route toward the open sea. As the light changes, the reef begins preparing for another rhythm.
As daylight weakens, new animals begin reaching into the moving water. The reef does not become quiet when daylight fades. It simply changes workers.
Familiar squid return as the reef's daytime colors begin to soften. And
as larger fish leave the basin, smaller reef animals claim the foreground.
the shaded caves are filling with fish, prepared for the coming darkness.
The reef's moving river is now carrying us beyond the coral walls.
The underwater city falls behind, but its travelers lead toward a much larger world.
Something far larger is rising beneath the school, just beyond the reef's protection. The reef has delivered us back to the giants, where the next journey will begin. Beyond the reef, voices are calling from a world with no walls. Beyond the reef, voices are calling from a world without walls. The mysterious voices now take shape as a familiar pod returns.
Only in the open ocean does the true scale of these travelers become clear.
The giant is rising, and the surface is about to reveal its power.
One breath transforms the calm horizon into an unforgettable spectacle.
The dolphins answer the whale's quiet power with effortless movement of their own.
A single movement of the tail sends energy through thousands of tons of water. A younger traveler appears, protected by a body many times its size. The calf learns the ocean by following every movement of its mother. Play is more than entertainment here. It prepares a young whale for survival. Every depth holds a different journey, yet all of them share the same moving water. A faster giant now enters, built to cross the ocean with astonishing efficiency. Its speed is hidden inside movements that appear almost effortless. Another breath marks the passage of a traveler that may cross entire oceans. The water darkens beneath a body larger than anything else alive. No camera angle can contain the full scale of the largest animal on Earth.
Its immense body is sustained by creatures almost invisible in the water.
A nearly invisible boundary concentrates the food that giants follow. As one giant descends, another voice rises from the darkness. A deep diver returns from a world where sunlight never reaches. Its breath confirms a journey that may have reached more than a kilometer below. The next descent leads into darkness, guided almost entirely by sound. Above the solitary diver, a family travels by constant communication. For these whales, survival is built around a family that rarely separates. Another social hunter crosses the same ocean highway without disturbing the family below. Coordination allows a powerful group to move through the sea as one. Their pale markings record years of life written directly across the skin.
Every scar makes the older dolphins more recognizable to those traveling beside them.
But beneath the travelers, thousands of fish turn the empty blue into living architecture.
The shape changes every second, yet the school never loses its unity.
The ocean's fastest performers arrive beside a moving river of silver.
Speed becomes a form of entertainment
when every turn remains perfectly controlled. For a few seconds, the open sea becomes a stage, with no audience but the horizon. Another silver highway forms ahead, drawing the journey deeper into the blue. A hidden giant rises beneath the silver current, promising the next dramatic reveal. One carefully timed movement gathers thousands of small fish without disrupting the wider sea.
After the giant passes, the silver school rebuilds itself within seconds.
These powerful fish are built to remain in motion across enormous distances. A long, streamlined hunter enters the frame like a blade moving through water. The blue opens again, revealing colors that seem impossible until they move.
A drifting patch of seaweed becomes a vivid meeting place in the empty ocean.
The largest fish in the sea returns, following food too small to be seen from the surface.
Its enormous size is supported by patience rather than pursuit.
3 silent wings join the giant along the same invisible trail of food.
Each manta carries a pattern as individual as a fingerprint.
Beneath the passing wings, one unusual traveler pauses for a necessary service. The direction changes, and the warm tropical sea begins giving way to cooler currents. Migration paths overlap briefly before each traveler follows its own destination. The color of the water announces that a new ocean habitat is approaching. Long fins and slender bodies reveal animals built for life far from land. Different sharks divide the open ocean by depth, temperature, and opportunity. A volcanic ridge gathers one of the ocean's most recognizable silhouettes. The seamount turns empty water into a gathering place for life.
One extraordinary tale makes this solitary shark instantly unforgettable.
Another giant shark survives not by chasing prey, but by filtering the sea itself. Its intimidating appearance hides one of the gentlest feeding strategies in the ocean. A rarely seen deep diver offers only a brief glimpse before disappearing again. But the deep diver leaves as coastal travelers begin guiding us toward land. Cooler currents bring new colors, new fish, and a different rhythm of movement. The open ocean is becoming shallower, and the seafloor is returning. Rock, algae, and cooler light announce the edge of an underwater forest. One final giant marks the boundary between the open sea and the coast. The blue world now transforms into a forest, moved by every passing wave. Something is moving between the trees of this underwater forest. Beyond these moving walls, an entirely different ocean kingdom is waiting.
But the moving forest has hidden its first resident, inviting us farther inside.
The hidden silhouette becomes a seal built to move effortlessly through this underwater forest. Curiosity brings the seal closer, but the forest remains its world, not ours. As the seal rises, a quieter community appears beneath the canopy.
The nest may appear simple, but every cleared stone represents careful work. Small grazers can determine whether this coast remains a forest or becomes. The ancient sea carves pathways where life can travel, hide, and return. The Red Sea does not reveal itself all at once. It offers one living detail at a time. The sea feeds even the quietest forms, carrying life through invisible currents. The sea teaches movement through rhythm, and the Red Sea Reef answers with life. Beneath the surface of this ancient ocean, the Red Sea begins to reveal a hidden world. In the sea, awareness moves faster than sound, passing through a school like light. Around a single coral tower, the sea gathers shelter, food, movement, and risk. The sea feeds even the quietest forms, carrying life through invisible currents. Even in the brightest hour, the Red Sea keeps many of its lives unseen. Every ray of light touches an ocean realm shaped by time, heat, salt, and life. Near the reef, the sea is never still. Every surface becomes a place to live. In the sea, awareness moves faster than sound, passing through a school like light. The closer we look into this sea, the more worlds within worlds begin to appear. Here, the ocean has built a living kingdom from stone, sunlight, and patience. The Red Sea is not empty water. It is an ancient ocean filled with quiet movement. Each hidden opening in this sea is a doorway to another small life. The journey begins at the reef, but the Red Sea still holds far more than the eye can see. Beyond the reef, the sea opens into a silence older than memory. In this ocean, even the smallest motion carries the memory of life. Each hidden opening in this sea is a doorway to another small life. Around a single coral tower, the sea gathers shelter, food, movement, and risk. As the light changes, the ancient Red Sea begins to show a different face. Deeper below the surface, the seal's hidden life becomes harder to see, but impossible to ignore. The ocean floor appears still, yet beneath its calm surface, life is already awake. This ancient ocean hides its wonders in layers of color, shadow, and silence. This is the doorway into the Red Sea's ancient hidden kingdom. Deeper below the surface, the seal's hidden life becomes harder to see, but impossible to ignore. At the edge of the reef, the ocean breathes through thousands of tiny bodies. Above, the sun burns bright. Below, the ocean keeps its hidden life protected. Every crack in this ocean reef may shelter a life unseen by the passing eye. Ahead, the sea will open into a hidden kingdom where every color shelters life. In the ancient ocean, survival often begins with knowing where to hide. The first gate of the Red Sea is open. Beyond it, hidden life is. The reef is only the beginning. Beyond it, the ocean falls into deeper secrets. Here, the ancient ocean divides the world between safety, hunger, and the unknown. The ocean current writes invisible paths through this living architecture. From a distance, the ocean looks peaceful. Up close, it is alive in every direction. Some forms in this ocean grow slowly, carrying the marks of decades beneath the waves. The Red Sea is an ocean of thresholds, where light fades and mystery begins. Color is not decoration in this ocean. It is language, warning, disguise, and attraction. Across this ancient ocean floor, every open space leads back to shelter. The smallest creatures in this ocean help build one of Earth's most complex worlds. When the ocean gathers life into one motion, the reef seems to breathe. The ancient ocean hides many of its stories where sunlight can barely reach. These living structures turn the ocean into a maze of refuge and opportunity. In the ocean's sheltered corners, hidden life waits for the right moment to move. The farther we look into this ocean, the more ancient and alive it becomes. Some lives in this ocean are measured not by distance, but by the safety of a single crack. The reef is the memory of the ocean, built slowly by countless living hands. From above, it is only water. From below, the ocean becomes a universe. The current feeds the reef, and the reef gives the ocean a place for life to gather.
Along these walls, the ancient ocean rises like a living cliff.
In this ocean, danger and shelter can exist within the same delicate form. Every passage through the reef leads deeper into the ocean's hidden design. Life in this ocean is arranged between the brightness above and the shadows below. The ocean teaches movement through rhythm, and the reef answers with life.
In this sea, a shadow is enough to make hidden life vanish.
The reef reaches into the sea, and the sea answers with light and food. Changing color, changing shape, some creatures turn the Red Sea into a living illusion. Every meter of this seafloor contains a hidden story waiting in silence. The sea can hide a body beneath almost nothing.
Beyond the first gate, the Red Sea opens into a kingdom built entirely by life.
Inside the smallest cracks of the Red Sea, hidden life begins to appear.
Sometimes the Red Sea reveals only evidence, not the life itself. What appears solid is alive, fragile, and constantly changing beneath the sea.
Some creatures in this sea survive by becoming almost invisible.
In this sea, every branch of coral becomes shelter for hundreds of fragile lives. But beyond these hidden chambers, the Red Sea begins to move with greater force.
The Red Sea teaches caution to even the smallest creatures. The coral kingdom of the Red Sea is not silent. It is alive with constant motion.
The Red Sea sand is not empty. It is a thin veil over secret lives. The smallest spaces in the reef can mean the difference between life and danger. Inside the reef, the Red Sea builds homes above, below, and between. Even before night, the hidden corners of the Red Sea already belong to secret lives. The hidden life has shown how the Red Sea protects the small. Now the moving sea will reveal the balance of survival. Layer by layer, the sea has shaped this reef into a living city. Spines, shells, shadows, and cracks all become tools for survival in this sea.
The smallest defenders in the Red Sea guard doors no larger than a shell.
In this sea, stillness can be the strongest form of protection. Hidden life in this sea is not rare, it is simply easy to miss.
The Red Sea builds diversity, not with one shape, but with thousands.
The sea current connects every coral, every fish, and every hidden mouth. Every cave in the Red Sea Reef may hold a life waiting beyond the light. Across the sand, the Red Sea leaves clues of lives that move unseen.
Beneath the visible reef, the Red Sea holds another reef of secrets.
Soft corals move with the sea, turning the current into a slow underwater dance. In one small corner of the Red Sea, many lives can share the same shelter. Behind the bright reef face, the Red Sea keeps quieter chambers of life. Some hidden lives are so delicate that the sea itself nearly erases them. The sea can hide a body beneath almost nothing.
Above the Pacific Ocean, a superstorm. Above the Pacific Ocean, a superstorm turns the sea into a vast field of power. Storm turns the sea into a vast field of power.
Deeper inside the Pacific Reef, the storm turns the coral world into a fortress of survival.
From above, From above, the storm appears almost alive, shaping the surface of the ocean with relentless force. For the smallest fish, every coral branch becomes a wall against the moving sea. At the surface of the Pacific, wind, rain, and waves merge. Wind, rain, and waves merge into one moving body. Yet beneath this chaos, another world is waiting in the sea below. Another world is waiting in the sea below.
The storm reaches the bottom as moving sand, and the seafloor becomes a place of constant change.
The superstorm rules the surface, but the ocean beneath it is beginning to respond. To understand this storm, we must follow it below the waves. Below the waves.
When the Pacific grows restless, the strongest shelter is often found beneath the reef itself.
Below the storm, the sea is still restless, filled with noise, motion, and pressure.
The same storm that threatens the reef also sends food through its hidden corridors.
The superstorm above reshapes the first layers of the ocean, stirring everything in its reach. Inside the storm-dark reef, the old balance of hunter and hidden prey continues. Even before the reef appears, life in the Pacific Ocean is already adapting to the force above.
Beneath the raging surface, the hidden life of the Pacific is just beginning to come into view. This reef is not only surviving the Pacific storm, it is using every shape, shelter, and current to stay alive. Farther below the storm, the Pacific begins to reveal the lives that endure beneath the violence above. Within the coral, the smallest spaces become the strongest protection. The reef is not a single shelter, but thousands of shelters joined together by the sea. The ocean floor is not untouched by the storm. It feels the force as current, pressure, and shifting light. When the storm presses down from above, even the smallest fish know where safety begins. Some fish survive the moving water by holding still in the right place. Every surge from above sends another signal through the reef. The reef becomes a fortress, and every crevice in the sea becomes a refuge.
On the seafloor, survival can mean staying low, staying still, and letting the storm pass overhead.
In the sand, the storm turns every open doorway into a risk. Beneath the superstorm, even sight becomes uncertain. Each species answers the storm in its own way, anchoring, hiding, or yielding to the current. The storm can be felt as a rhythm in the water, and the reef responds to every shift. Not every survivor moves quickly. Some endure by holding their place.
Even in the middle of a superstorm, the ocean still contains places of relative calm.
Even fragile forms can become shelter when the ocean begins to move with force.
Some creatures do not flee the storm. They wait inside the reef and let the sea bring the world to them.
Behind the moving coral, the reef hides quiet rooms for those small enough to enter.
Below the storming Pacific, a hidden world is already adapting, enduring, and waiting for the next surge from above.
The coral reef beneath the Pacific storm is a maze of pressure, shelter, and living response.
Beneath the Pacific storm, the reef becomes a shelter shaped by pressure, current, and instinct.
Inside this reef maze, every creature depends on the shape of the ocean around it.
When the water grows stronger, the reef becomes a shelter of narrow spaces.
Every branch of coral becomes a narrow refuge when the ocean above is in chaos.
The reef wall becomes a living shield against the restless sea. In rough water, even a short crossing becomes a decision. On the seafloor, the safest creature may be the one that almost disappears. The storm changes the seafloor, but some lives survive by becoming almost invisible. Under the storm, every open crossing becomes a test of timing. For some creatures beneath the waves, stillness is the strongest defense. The hidden animals of the reef survive the storm by holding to the ocean's strongest edges. The storm turns the coral chamber into both a hiding place and a feeding ground. The reef does not fight every force. It bends, absorbs, and waits.
Even during the storm, the small services of the reef continue in hidden corners.
Even a storm can carry food through the sea, turning danger into opportunity.
The storm changes the water, but the ancient balance of the reef remains. In the shelter of the reef, hunters and hunted share the same storm. Every shelter in the reef belongs to a larger system of pressure, hunger, and protection.
Below the superstorm, the Pacific is not silent. It is a living world responding to pressure from above.
The reef has become a living refuge, but the Pacific storm is still pushing deeper through the sea.
The Pacific storm is still reaching downward, turning every coral corridor into a test of survival. The storm above continues to press into the sea, and every hidden life below must answer. Inside the reef, the smallest spaces become the safest rooms in the ocean. In the smallest openings of the ocean floor, survival is measured in seconds. Tiny creatures beneath the waves read the current through touch before they dare to move. The reef is built from countless hiding places, each one shaped by the sea. Beneath the storm, the ocean floor opens and closes like a restless, hidden world. When the water changes, cooperation becomes another form of shelter. The young lives of the reef gather tightly when the sea becomes unpredictable. When the sea becomes unstable, even the smallest partnership must work faster. The reef holds many kinds of strength, from gripping arms to hidden claws.
Some creatures survive the storm by becoming part of the reef itself.
In rough water, disguise is not only a trick, it is a way to endure. The storm turns danger into food, but only for those quick enough to risk the open sea. Even the moving corals become shelter when the storm pushes through the sea. In the storm-dark reef, camouflage becomes a silent form of patience. The storm changes the rhythm of the reef, but the ancient tension between hunter and hidden prey remains. The reef guides them through the storm, one protected passage at a time. Beneath the Pacific superstorm, every hidden creature becomes part of one living response. Beneath the Pacific superstorm, the coral reef survives as one connected refuge of movement, pressure, and life. Below the Pacific superstorm, the sea becomes a test of shelter, instinct, and endurance. Inside the reef, survival is shared by every creature that can find shelter from the moving sea. In unstable water, moving together becomes the safest shape in the ocean.
The storm makes the open water dangerous, and the reef answers with hidden rooms.
What looks like a wall is really a crowded world holding itself against the current. The storm changes the water, and every fish answers with motion. For larger animals, the same current that threatens the small can become a path through the sea. On the storm-dark seafloor, hiding can mean becoming part of the sand. The ocean covers some lives so completely that survival becomes almost invisible. Near the seafloor, survival depends less on speed and more on holding ground. Even larger, calmer lives of the Pacific choose shelter when the sea above becomes violent. Beneath the ledge, many small lives wait together while the storm moves above them. The storm carries food through the reef, but every meal must be taken between pulses of danger.
The storm brings danger, but it also carries food through the hidden corridors of the sea. In the shadowed reef, the octopus survives by reading the sea through touch. Every opportunity beneath the storm lasts only until the next surge arrives. The reef holds both refuge and danger, and the storm brings them closer together. Inside the reef, the storm is measured through pressure, shadow, and the behavior of every neighbor. Beneath the raging Pacific, every creature is connected by the same force moving through the sea. Under the Pacific superstorm, the reef becomes one living refuge, where every hidden life depends on the sea around it. The Pacific Reef holds its life close, turning every surface into protection beneath the storm. Below the storm, the Pacific Ocean is not broken, it is alive, adjusting with every pulse of the sea. The reef becomes a sanctuary, holding fragile lives against the force above. The smallest fish survive by trusting the narrow architecture of the reef. Inside the reef wall, the sea hides entire lives smaller than a shadow. For the youngest lives in the ocean, survival begins inside the smallest spaces. The seafloor changes with every pulse, hiding and revealing its smallest doors. Predator and prey share the same shelter when the sea becomes stronger than either of them. The storm writes its force through the water, and the reef answers with movement. In the smallest partnerships of the ocean, warning and work become survival. Beneath the coral ledge, different lives share one shelter against the moving sea. Even beneath a superstorm, the ocean hides quiet spaces where life can wait. Some lives survive by moving with the sea, and others survive by becoming almost invisible. The storm brings food through the reef, but every brief meal comes with risk. This hidden world beneath the Pacific storm is built from instinct, shelter, and connection. The octopus reads the storm through the stone, waiting for the sea to loosen its grip. Even in the storm, the reef keeps its ancient balance between patience and escape. Above, the storm still rules the waves. Below, the ocean's hidden life continues to endure. Beneath the Pacific superstorm, the reef survives because every hidden life has found a place within the sea. This is only the first descent beneath the Pacific superstorm. Deeper in the reef, every creature must find its place against the pressure of the sea.
The first descent continues, and the Pacific Ocean reveals that survival beneath a storm is never still.
Deeper inside the Pacific Reef, shelter is not one place, but a whole living structure shaped by the sea. For the smallest fish, the reef becomes a maze designed for survival. Far below the waves, even light from the storm becomes part of the reef's warning system. The storm reaches downward not as wind, but as pressure, current, and moving sand. Every surface of the reef holds smaller lives, waiting for the sea to calm. The sand beneath the storm is never still. It hides and reveals life with every passing current. In the smallest homes of the sea, partnership can become the difference between danger and survival. Every hidden creature has its own answer to the same force moving through the ocean. In this unstable sea, even the smallest home must be repaired against the storm. Under the ledge,
The reef becomes a shared shelter for many different kinds of life. Under the storm, the distance between shelters becomes a challenge measured in heartbeats. The storm pushes food through the reef, and every hidden creature must decide when to risk the open water. The octopus survives by becoming part of the reef while the storm passes above.
The same current that threatens the reef also carries food through its hidden passages.
In the darkness of the reef, the octopus becomes both witness and survivor. Beneath the Pacific storm, no life stands alone. Every creature is tied to the shape of the sea around it. The storm may disturb the water, but the reef still holds its old rules of waiting and distance. The first descent has only opened the storm's hidden world. Deeper in the reef, the Pacific will reveal how life endures under pressure.
Beneath the Pacific superstorm, the coral terrace becomes one living refuge, where every hidden life depends on every shape around it.
The Pacific storm keeps pushing through the reef, and every passage becomes a place of decision. Deeper inside the Pacific reef, the storm becomes a hidden pressure moving through every passage of the sea. Inside the coral, the youngest lives wait for the moving sea to give them a safer moment. The ocean floor changes moment by moment, reshaped by a storm that never touches it directly. The reef wall holds life by giving each creature a different grip on survival. For the smallest reef walkers, survival means holding fast to anything the sea cannot easily move.
The reef bends and holds at the same time, giving each creature a different way to endure.
Some lives survive the storm by allowing the sea to hide them completely. Stillness becomes a language beneath the storm. In disturbed water, the safest path is often the one closest to the reef. Under the coral ledge, many forms of life share one small pocket of safety. Inside the reef, patience becomes another form of strength. Food moves through the storm, but only the quick and cautious can reach it. The octopus answers the storm not by fleeing, but by becoming part of the seafloor. The octopus waits with the patience of the reef itself. Even in danger, the storm delivers food, and the reef must seize each brief chance. Even as the storm moves through the sea, the reef keeps its ancient tension alive. Beneath the Pacific storm, every creature survives by using the reef in its own way. Beneath the Pacific superstorm, the reef survives as a connected world of shelter, hunger, pressure, and patience.
The first descent moves deeper still, toward the places where the Pacific hides its strongest survivors.
Here, beneath the storm, the Pacific Ocean hides a calmer chamber where life gathers against the pressure. The Pacific storm keeps pressing through the reef, and the sea turns every corridor into a living test. Inside the smallest branches, fragile lives find shelter from a force far larger than themselves. Even when the storm weakens below, the seafloor still carries the memory of its force. The reef wall is crowded with lives that survive by holding close to the sea's strongest edges. In the smallest homes of the ocean, survival is built through warning, work, and trust. The young fish of the reef turn coral into shelter, waiting for the sea above to calm. The sand beneath the storm is always changing, hiding the smallest doors almost as soon as they appear. Some creatures survive the Pacific storm not by speed, but by patience and contact with the reef. In this unstable sea, even a tiny home must be defended again and again. Under the ledge, the reef becomes a shared shelter for lives that would never gather in calm water. Inside the storm-dark reef, patience and shelter become as powerful as movement. The storm brings food through the reef, but every chance to feed is surrounded by danger. The octopus moves only when the current allows, reading the storm through every touch. The octopus survives by reading every pulse of the sea through the stone beneath it. The storm brings risk into the sea, but it also sends food through every protected hollow.
Within the same shelter, the reef holds fear, patience, hunger, and protection.
Beneath the Pacific superstorm, every creature becomes part of one living system shaped by the sea. Beneath the Pacific superstorm, the reef endures because every hidden life has found a way to belong to the moving sea.
The first descent continues, and the Pacific leads us from shelter into another hidden passage beneath the storm.
The Pacific Reef continues to hold its life close as the storm keeps pressing through the sea.
Beyond the sheltered basin, the Pacific Ocean becomes restless again, forcing every creature to choose its path. For the smallest fish, the safest world is the one too narrow for danger to enter. Here, the storm is felt not as thunder, but as moving sand and shifting pressure. The reef wall becomes a crowded shelter, each small surface holding another life against the storm. For the smallest reef walkers, the sea becomes a force to hold against. The seafloor beneath the storm is never fixed. It changes with every breath of the ocean. In rough water, the school survives by becoming one shape moving through the sea. In the smallest shelter, teamwork becomes a defense against the moving sea. Under the ledge, many small lives share the same thin line of safety. Even under the storm, the old balance of the reef remains. The storm turns the reef into a place of sudden danger and sudden food. The octopus does not resist the Pacific storm. It becomes part of the reef until the sea allows movement again. The storm sends danger through the ocean, but it also carries food into hidden places. The octopus waits inside the reef, changing with the sea instead of fighting it. Inside the same reef, hunger and shelter wait side by side. Beneath the Pacific superstorm, every hidden life is connected by the same moving water.
Beneath the Pacific superstorm, the reef remains alive, because every hidden creature has found shelter inside the moving ocean.
The first descent continues, and deeper beneath the storm, the Pacific hides still more lives waiting in the dark. The Pacific Reef keeps drawing its life inward, turning every chamber into protection beneath the storm. In the storm-dark sea, camouflage becomes a quiet shield against both current and danger. When the open sea becomes unstable, the smallest gaps in the reef become the safest world. The reef wall holds its secrets tightly, giving each small creature a place to endure. Some lives endure by letting the ocean cover them. The reef becomes shelter, anchor, and warning system all at once.
Beneath the storm, even the sand becomes a moving shelter and a moving threat. The storm brings chaos into the sea, but within chaos, food appears. In this hidden corner of the ocean, survival is built through shared warning and careful work. Under the ledge, different lives share one shelter, because the moving sea leaves no room for pride. The safest path through the storm is the one written by the reef itself. Inside the rock, the octopus becomes another shadow of the Pacific Reef.
The octopus survives by becoming part of the reef until the sea gives permission to move.
Predators wait, prey hide, and the storm moves between them. Beneath the Pacific superstorm, every life is part of the same underwater struggle.
The first descent continues, and beyond the reef valley, the Pacific begins to reveal a deeper hidden world. Beneath the Pacific superstorm, the coral chamber becomes one living refuge, holding every hidden life inside the moving ocean.
The storm changes the light, but life beneath it never stops.
Every turn is answered by thousands, and the school becomes one moving body. Beyond the reef, the Pacific opens into a larger world, where survival depends on movement.
In open water, safety is no longer a hiding place, but a shared direction. The deeper we follow the Pacific beneath the superstorm, the more its hidden greatness continues to unfold. Above them, the storm moves the surface. Below it, the fish move as one. Far below the storm, the Pacific is shaped not only by waves, but by rivers of water flowing inside the ocean itself. In the open Pacific, the storm hides danger until it moves. Every small movement spreads through thousands of lives, like a pulse through the ocean. A single change of direction can protect thousands of lives. The Pacific writes living geometry across the open water. Not every giant fights the storm. Some pass through it with ancient calm.
Beneath the moving school, the ray follows deeper currents of the storm cannot fully command.
The strongest travelers waste nothing, allowing the Pacific itself to carry them.
In the open sea, every creature reads the storm differently. Even the gentlest drifters become part of the great motion beneath the storm.
Far from the reef, the Pacific reveals predators that travel with the rhythm of the sea rather than the violence of the storm.
The Pacific gathers giants not in one place, but across every depth.
The school becomes a floating sky beneath the storming sea. The strongest hunters conserve energy, letting the ocean work with them instead of against them. And many hunters follow the same current, each searching without disturbing the balance of the sea.
The farther we descend beneath the Pacific, the quieter the storm becomes, yet the ocean grows even more powerful.
Even beneath a superstorm, light continues to guide the hidden world below.
Invisible life feeds the entire Pacific, one drifting current at a time. Thousands separate for a moment, only to become one once again. Every movement spreads instantly across the school, creating order from countless individual lives. Close to the bottom, larger wings carry life through currents that never stop moving. Different worlds share the same ocean, separated only by depth. Above the Pacific, the storm shapes the light. Below, the light reshapes the ocean. The Pacific reveals itself in layers, each filled with life responding to the same sea. Some giants travel not with force, but with extraordinary grace. Beyond these waters, even greater travelers of the Pacific are already approaching. The Pacific rewards patience, allowing the largest gentle giants to thrive on the smallest drifting life. Far from the reef, the Pacific becomes an endless highway of movement. Every depth of the Pacific carries its own travelers moving in opposite directions. Order survives because every individual responds to the same invisible current. Even the softest creatures become part of the Pacific's immense design. The Pacific Ocean is not one habitat, but countless living worlds stacked together beneath the storm. The storm changes the light, but not the discipline of the sea. Beyond the last blue light, the Pacific still guards a world that few eyes have ever seen. Power in the Pacific often arrives without speed or noise. The Pacific now leaves the familiar world behind and begins its descent into silence.
Every powerful swimmer measures its strength against the sea instead of fighting it.
Even here, where the sea appears empty, life fills every current. Closer to the bottom, the rhythm of the storm becomes slower and deeper. Even in open water, larger creatures create quiet places for smaller lives. The storm still exists above, but its voice grows quieter with every meter of depth. The Pacific is never empty. Every layer carries another hidden community. Hidden rivers inside the Pacific shape journeys that no surface wave can reveal. The deeper sea replaces speed with patience and light with quiet transparency. The deeper we travel into the Pacific, the more the storm reveals a world united by motion rather than fear. The smallest lights often guide the longest journeys beneath the Pacific. The Pacific Ocean becomes a living sky beneath the storm, filled with countless lives moving together. Life becomes less crowded, but no less extraordinary. Each individual follows simple instincts, yet together they create impossible beauty. What appears to be empty water is actually an endless rain feeding the deep Pacific. Ahead lies the threshold, where daylight gives way to another world. Above, the storm reshapes the light. Below, the ocean reshapes itself. Beyond this fading light, the Pacific keeps secrets that have waited millions of years to be seen. Some of the Pacific's greatest travelers appear almost like silent shadows beneath the living sea. Strength beneath the Pacific is measured by calm precision rather than speed. Here, the Pacific begins to leave the world of sunlight behind. The storm still exists above, but its power is now remembered only through the currents. Every giant in the Pacific carries its own small community. Invisible rivers continue their journey long after the surface has forgotten the storm. The Pacific Ocean is built in layers, each one alive with its own hidden rhythm. The deeper Pacific introduces life that seems almost made from light itself. Even the smallest drifting life continues the story of the Pacific. Together, thousands of small lives become one of the ocean's greatest wonders. With every meter downward, life becomes quieter, but never disappears. Beyond these endless waters, the greatest giants of the Pacific are waiting beneath the storm. The Pacific is shaped by currents hidden far below the reach of wind. Beneath the Pacific superstorm, the ocean's largest travelers move with a calm older than the waves. Some lives remain only as passing shadows until the deep sea chooses to reveal them. Even the storm above cannot hurry the deep rhythm of a giant. Around a giant, the Pacific seems to slow down and expand. Ahead lies the threshold, where the familiar ocean ends and the abyss begins. The largest life and the smallest drifting bodies belong to the same ocean current. The Pacific has guided us beyond the reach of sunlight. What waits below belongs to the oldest and most mysterious kingdom of the sea. The Pacific now reaches the quiet frontier between daylight and the deep unknown. Some giants of the Pacific are so vast they seem to belong to the sea itself. The storm commands the surface, but the deep Pacific keeps its own ancient order. Some of the ocean's longest travelers are not single animals, but entire living colonies. Together, the giants travel as if guided by memories carried through the sea. The deeper Pacific reveals beauty that seems almost impossible to notice from the surface. From surface chaos to deep calm, the Pacific holds many worlds at once. Light grows weaker, yet life continues to create its own quiet brilliance. Every falling particle becomes part of the deep Pacific's endless cycle of life. One movement from a giant can ripple through countless smaller lives. The surface storm now feels like a distant memory, carried only by the ocean itself. The open Pacific beneath the storm is not ruled by one creature, but by the movement of all life together. Silence becomes the dominant voice as the Pacific prepares for the abyss. The Pacific Ocean beneath the storm is one connected living world, where every current carries countless lives. Invisible boundaries divide the Pacific more completely than any coastline. Not every giant beneath the Pacific storm is a hunter. Some travel quietly through clouds of life. The deepest travelers reveal themselves only for a moment before returning to darkness.
Even the largest travelers move with remarkable gentleness through the open sea.
The scale of the Pacific is best understood when a giant passes silently above.
The Pacific no longer feels like an ocean of waves, but an ocean of silence.
The Pacific holds giants that fly through water with the grace of birds. Every drifting particle carries the story of life deeper into the Pacific. The currents shape every journey, from the smallest fish to the largest wings. Some of the Pacific's most extraordinary lives exist only through perfect cooperation. The ocean creates patterns that no single creature could ever make alone. Listen. As sunlight disappears, delicate beauty becomes even more remarkable. Nothing in the Pacific truly stands still. Even silence continues to move. The world above still exists, but it no longer defines the ocean below. The Pacific is sculpted by rivers hidden inside the sea. The farther we descend, the more every living shape becomes a rare discovery. The deepest Pacific reveals itself only through brief glimpses and patient observation. Now the Pacific opens the door to the deepest realm, where life has evolved beyond the reach of the sun. The Pacific Ocean now reaches the threshold where sunlight surrenders completely to the deep sea. Even in apparent emptiness, the Pacific Ocean is constantly nourishing life. The strongest rivers of the Pacific Ocean are hidden beneath its surface. Some of the sea's most delicate creatures shine brightest where daylight almost disappears. Cooperation becomes one of the oldest survival strategies in the Pacific Ocean. The storm above has become only a memory carried by the sea.
The deeper the Pacific Ocean becomes, the more precious every living encounter feels.
The Pacific Ocean never reveals all of its inhabitants at once. Beyond this final darkness, the Pacific Ocean enters a kingdom illuminated not by the sun, but by life itself. For the first time, the Pacific Ocean is no longer illuminated by the sky above, but by the life within it. Everything that falls from the upper sea becomes the beginning of another world.
The deepest Pacific Ocean is shaped by currents that never meet the wind.
The storm above has finally disappeared, but the ocean continues its ancient journey.
The deepest ocean transforms fragile bodies into living constellations.
The Pacific Abyss resembles a universe where every falling particle supports unseen life. Some giants of the deep move so slowly they seem detached from time itself. Even in darkness, the Pacific Ocean remains full of movement. In the deep Pacific, communication is written with light rather than sound. Every flash of light carries meaning in the endless darkness. The deeper Pacific Ocean reveals a civilization of light hidden beneath the storm. The Pacific Ocean becomes darker, yet life becomes even more extraordinary. Some of the Pacific's oldest legends begin with creatures that rarely meet the light. The deep Pacific rewards patience with glimpses of remarkable life. Even the darkness of the Pacific Ocean is filled with gentle light. Many deep-sea fish disappear by matching the light above them. The Pacific Ocean hides its greatest wonders inside perfect silence. Some deep-sea travelers appear almost unreal until they move. The Pacific Abyss creates beauty from darkness rather than sunlight.
Every light in the Pacific may belong to a creature we have never fully seen. The Pacific Ocean has only begun revealing the astonishing life hidden beneath its deepest waters. Deeper still, the Pacific Ocean begins to reveal creatures shaped by darkness itself. Some hunters in the deep Pacific survive by waiting in perfect stillness. In the abyss, patience can be as powerful as speed. Small lights travel together through the deep, turning darkness into direction. Transparency becomes another way to disappear in the Pacific abyss. In this world, light can attract, warn, confuse, or conceal. Every flash in the deep Pacific may be a message written for survival. The abyss is not empty darkness. It is a slow ballet of fragile bodies. Every depth of the Pacific has its own rules, its own lights, and its own hidden lives. Ahead, the Pacific abyss grows stranger, and the hidden creatures become harder to imagine. The Pacific abyss now becomes a place where darkness has depth, movement, and life. Some creatures of the deep Pacific have evolved to look through darkness itself. In the abyss, survival often begins with seeing what others cannot. Some lives do not chase the ocean. They stand inside its current and wait.
In the deepest Pacific, patience becomes the rhythm of life.
Here, light can become a tool, a signal, and a trap. In a world without sunlight, even the smallest glow can change everything.
The Pacific abyss survives through stillness, light, pressure, and astonishing adaptation.
Deeper along the Pacific Trench, the hidden world grows stranger still. The deepest walls of the Pacific Ocean preserve a history older than any storm above. Even without sunlight, the Pacific Ocean creates islands of life powered from within the earth. Where heat escapes from the earth, entire deep-sea communities gather. Life in the Pacific abyss does not always depend on the sun. Sometimes it depends on the planet itself. Even the largest walkers of the abyss move with remarkable patience. Every movement on the abyssal floor is measured against immense pressure and endless time. Heat, darkness, and drifting life exist together in perfect balance. Camouflage remains one of the oldest survival strategies, even in complete darkness. The Pacific Ocean proves that life can flourish wherever energy can be found. Beyond the last hydrothermal light, the Pacific Ocean still guards mysteries waiting in absolute darkness. Beyond the vent fields, the Pacific Ocean enters a darkness that feels almost endless. Even the darkest walls of the Pacific hold lives adapted to pressure and silence. In the abyss, camouflage is not color alone, but shape, patience, and stillness.
Every movement here is slow because the deep Pacific wastes nothing.
What falls from above becomes a feast for those waiting below. The abyssal floor survives through patience, recycling, and the endless rain of the sea. Above the trench floor,
Hunters write their presence with light. The deep Pacific is a world where danger and beauty often share the same glow. Far beneath the Pacific storm, the abyss is not empty. It is a hidden system of survival. Deeper in the Pacific Trench, the hidden world grows quieter, stranger, and even more ancient. The deeper basin of the Pacific Ocean holds life so quiet it almost becomes part of the darkness. Here, survival is built from patience and the endless rain from the upper ocean. Even the smallest reach matters in the deep Pacific. Some creatures of the abyss move through darkness with unexpected grace. The deep sea rewards slow movement, careful energy, and perfect balance. In absolute darkness, a single glow can become a world. Light in the abyss is never wasted. Every pulse has a purpose. The Pacific Trench turns stone, darkness, and falling food into a living landscape. Far below the Pacific superstorm, the abyss survives through quiet cooperation. The Pacific still descends, and every deeper corridor carries a mystery older than the storm. The Pacific Ocean continues descending into places where almost no sunlight has ever reached. Pressure has shaped even the simplest movement into remarkable efficiency.
Even the smallest inhabitants reshape the life surrounding the Pacific Trench. Some creatures of the Pacific become almost invisible, except for the light they choose to reveal.
Transparency becomes one of the greatest disguises in the deep sea.
The Pacific Ocean feeds countless lives simply by allowing the currents to flow. In the Pacific Abyss, even the most fragile life becomes part of the deep current. The deep Pacific turns stone and silence into a living foundation. What falls from the upper ocean becomes the daily bread of the abyss. Here, light can become both invitation and warning. Every glow in the deep Pacific changes the behavior of everything around it. In the abyss, a body can become a message written in light. The deep sea is not empty space, but a layered world of signals, patience, and pressure. On the trench ledge, life survives by wasting nothing and waiting well. Far below the Pacific superstorm, the abyss is a complete world built from darkness. The Pacific still descends, and its deepest secrets are waiting beyond the next darkness. The deepest Pacific Ocean is not empty. It is simply too patient to reveal itself quickly. Here, survival is built from what the upper sea sends down. In this darkness, even a single reaching arm can gather life from the current. Grace still exists in the abyss, even where the sea is ruled by pressure. Every creature here moves as if the deep sea has taught it economy. In the Pacific Abyss, a single glow can become an entire landscape. Light here is never decoration, it is survival.
The deepest Pacific writes messages in brief flashes no surface creature can read. Far below the Pacific superstorm, darkness becomes an ecosystem. The storm above is gone from sight, but the Pacific still leads us deeper into its oldest darkness. The deeper Pacific Ocean now feels almost motionless, yet every particle is still part of life. What falls from the upper sea